So hello. In last class we have discussed about multi-threading concept. Hope you understood all the concepts we have studied in earlier classes. If you have any doubt, you can text me or you can put it in our chat section. And I hope you understood. I'll consider that. I'll continue with the event handling in Java. So what is actually the event handling in Java? That is discussed from today's class. And it is very important to create user interfaces in Java or user interface using Java. So hope this is useful for your mini projects next upcoming semester. Either you can use Java as a platform for a mini project, or you can use web. It's HTML, XHTML, PHP. So those also you can use to create interface. So comparatively, HTML is a easier one. So this is also very easier once you understand what is actually required for your mini project. Okay. So event handling in Java, this what is actually the event? Something is happening, right? Okay, for example, if you are on and off a switch, so that can also be considered as a event. Okay, on and off on a single object. So switch is a single object, and on and off are the two different events which we are carrying, right? So how those on and off are handling? So that is depending on the circuit that is beyond that switch. Similarly, if we are handling an event, how that event is handled, or what are the codes which we can write for handling an event, right? So that is one thing in Java. And in event handling mechanism, so as I said, it is used for interacting. It's like graphical user interface if you wanted to build. So then you can go for the event handling mechanism. Graphical user interfaces indicating that, say for example, your Gmail home page, not actually the home page, the login page, right? So the Gmail login page, which consisting of what? So it is having one icon consisting of name, and below that we have username and the password, and it is asking you whether you can give it as a remember all the time, and then log in, or if you are a new user you can go for the sign up. Okay, so that those are all the graphical user interface, right? So those are all the objects inside that graphical user interface. I mean, human or a user can interact with that. So once you enter the text box, right? Say for example, if I can say to you that Gmail account, email login. So here, the Google, sign in, continue to Gmail, email, phone number, and these are all the details which you can give, or create an account or a next. So this is the thing you can give. This is the thing you can give. Wait a minute. Similarly, so if you wanted to create any GUI, such GUI based interfaces, so then you can make use of this event handling mechanism. Okay, so event handling is a fundamental to Java programming because it's an integral part of creating applets and other types of event. Applets, as I said in the beginning of the Java explanation, I said that applets and the swings. Applets are one such user interface or one such application, Java applications that are used to create GUIs at the client side. At the client side, in order to interact any information and in order to store, then you can go or use applets. Swings are also, or they can also be used as a used for creating a graphical user interface, and those swings are also inheriting the properties of applets. So what applets can do, the swings can also do. But applets are completely absolute and they are ignored in your syllabus. But in Java also applet is completely ignored. So you don't have applet concepts in your syllabus, but using the applets, you are going to create GUI in swings also. So once I get into the swings, I'll explain what is actually applets and all. Okay, applets are also event-driven programs that are used a graphical user interface to interact with it. Event-driven indicating what? Say for example, as I said, a switch. If it is on or off, if switch is on, what happens or what should be done? So that is event driven. Once the event is driven, what should be done? So that is written in a piece of code or a program, and that is taken care further. Similarly, off, right? Single object, how it can perform in a multiple way. So that is one thing. And then events are supported by number of packages. So which package is used for creating the events? So here you can include in your programming, that is java.utility. So this is similar, this is familiar to us because we have used many times this is, and java.awt. Java.awt and java.awt.event. So these two are new packages, right? So import java.awt, you can include in your program, and you can create any number of any number of objects including that, right? Java.awt, Java is a parent for all the packages. AWT is abstract window toolkit. Abstract window toolkit. So whatever we are going to create, that will come in a window. It is not actually the interface which we are complete window, right? A small dialog box which we can see. So that as a abstract window toolkit. Toolkit, as the name itself says that. So what are the requirements we need to create a user interface or to create a dialog box? So all those facilities or all those classes under java.awt. So either you can use java.awt or java.awt.event. Okay. So anything, either this or this or this you can use. Uh, Either three of one. Next. There are two event handling mechanisms. So this is older one actually. So here they have discussed with the Java version 1 and 1.1. This is actually old concept. Now we have Java 14 or Java 15. Java 14, which was released on March 2020. Okay, I mean the 2 months back. So now they are discussing about, or in the textbook, in your reference book also they have said about Java 1 and 1.1 Java versions. So those are the two event handling mechanisms. How mechanism is handled in one Java 1 and how it is handled in 1.1. That's it here. Two event handling mechanism. So in Java 1.0, you can create a events and you can run, but all those events can be supporting or can be supportable in 1.1, and uh, extra events can also be supportable in 1.1. So as we are moving from traditional approach to the modern approach, so this older one, Java 1.0. So that is not supportable, or that is not compatible with the older, newer versions. So for that, we have another mechanism, and a second mechanism, that is 1.1. Okay, so the 1.0 method, I mean the first mechanism, event handling is still supportable, but it is not recommended for all new programs. As I said, as we have come up with the modern approaches, so all these methods are not supportable in newer or the modern versions. So that is why it is deteriorated. Next, also many methods that are support the old 1.0 event model have been depreciated. So as I said, all the events which we have created in first method, and they can be supportable in second mechanism also, but many of them are older one, right? So you can make use of better methods other than those, right? So that is one concept here we have. The modern approach is a way that events should be handled by the whole new program. So here they are talking about 1 and 1.1. Now we have Java or JDK 14 or JDK 15. So they are much better than these, right? So this is just for your information sake, two events handling mechanism, how they are handled. That's it. And this is not much important because it is in your syllabus. I'm saying. Okay. And this is very important. Delegation event model. Delegation event model is very important. And here, what is actually the delegation event model is, right? So here, as I said, in the modern approach to handling the event is based on the using this event model only. The modern approach is taking care. So how it is happening? The source generates an event and sends it to one or more listeners. One or more listeners. So what is actually the source? What is event? What are the listeners? We'll discuss. Listener simply waits until it receives an event. So it is like, let's consider an example of source as a node and the listener as a separate node. Source generates an event. Source generates an event, indicating that. So we will consider that we are me as a source, and switch is the event which I am generating. Me as a source, and switch is the event which I am generating. So once a switch is on or off, I should have to send it to the listener. Listener is who waits for whether it is on or off. Say for example, if a switch is on or off, either fan or current should on, or if it is off, right? So that is what happens, or what should be done if the event is generated, or if a switch is on or off. So that is called by the listener. Right? If a power is there, automatically light and the fans are turned on. If not, they'll be in the same state, turn off state only. Okay. The listener simply waits until it receives an event. I mean, once the object is or a switch is we are switch we have, so that switch will be there simply. It is like an object, right? Once we have touched that, so how it is going further, how it is going further, so whether we have on that switch or off that, right? So once an event is received, the listener processes that event and then returns, right? So depending on the switch is on or off, it will turn on the light or turn off the light. So depending on, it is similar to that. Okay. So the advantage of this design is that application logic that processes the events and cleanly separates from the user interface logic that generates those events. It is like, so as we have interfaces of Gmail, So each Gmail consisting of one text box, two text boxes, which is for one is for username, another one is for password, one button, right? Once we click on that button, either it will lead to our home page, or if we have any errors, it will be there in that page only. It will be there in that page only, right? It is similar to that delegation event model, right? So whatever the button we are pressing, sign in button which we are pressing, so that is completely different from the home page. It is completely different from the home page. Whether all the informations are correct, if we have pressed on sign in, it will lead to the home page. If the information wrong, then we have pressed sign in, then it will not lead to any home page, right? So it is completely different. It is completely different. That implementation is different, and this implementation is different. A user interface element is able to delegate the processing of an event to a separate piece of code. So object creation or a user interface is different, and how it is handled. Say for example, once we get into the home page, so the database which we have inbox, logged and all, so that is different. So the interface is different. There is a connection, but the implementation is different. That is called the delegation event model. The continuation of this is, so here in this model, listener must register with the source in order to receive an event. Listener must register with the source in order to receive an event. Say for example, a source or an interface or a user which he is logging, he needs to register first. It is like only. Okay, listener must register with a source in order to receive an event or a notification. It is like a Facebook example I can give. If you are register for a Facebook, or if you are pressing any button to get a notification, or registering any button to get a notification, you will get a notification. It is similar to that. It is listener. So this provides an important benefit, that is notifications are sent only not only to the listeners that want to receive them. This is more efficient way to handle events. Say for example, if one listener is registered for an event, so that listener will get a information. If many listeners are registered for the same event, so all those listeners also get a notification. So that is, we will call it as unicast and multicast. Hope this is, you have studied in DC, data communication, unicasting and the multicasting. So registering and receiving a listener's notification is more efficient way to handle events. So this is traditional way that they have given. So we will discuss that. So event sources and event listener. These are very important. Write a note on event sources and event listener. There is a common question, and you have to explain with an example. Okay. So here I have given two examples also. You can refer this, or you can refer the text also. Okay. So what is actually the event? So event is an object that describes a state change in a source. So as I said, so if you consider switch, if you have on, the state may be changed, on, the state may be changed from on to off. So it can be generated as a consequence of a person interacting with the elements in a graphical user interface. As I have given a switch as an example. So if you can take graphical user interface, signing you can take as an example. If all the informations are correct, then you can press down sign in, it will lead to home page. If information are wrong, it will be there in a same page. So that is called the event. Okay. So some of the activities that cause events to be generated are pressing a button. So as I said, pressing a button can also be an event. Or entering a character via keyboard, that can also be an event. So entering a character via keyboard is So in the interface of a Gmail account, so username and the password, a character by character we are going to enter, right? Or else you can copy paste also. So character by character from a keyboard you can enter. So a character which you are pressing, that can also be an event, a character, entering a character via keyboard, and selecting an item in a list, selecting an item in a list. Say for example, in any of the shopping carts, you can select any item from a list, right? So that can also be an event. And clicking a mouse is also an event. Clicking a mouse and dragging it, placing it, that can also be an event. Okay. Events may also occur that are not directly caused by interaction with the user interface. As I said, events may also occur that are not directly caused by interaction with the user interface. So this is for the delegation event model. So the separation implementation is separate for a event handling, as well as what happens or what should be the output after handling an event. Say for example, an event may be generated when a timer expires. When a timer expires, say for example, so here in the Zoom class only, okay, if 40 minutes, above 40 minutes, if I wanted to continue, so it will automatically ends the meeting, right? So that can also be an event, right? A counter exceeds a value. Counter exceeds a value. Say for example, in a for loop, you can give an example that for I is equal to 1 and I less than 10, you can give, right? So it will only continue with the I is equal to 9. So once it exceeds that value, 9 value, so it will automatically terminate. So that can also be an event. Right, so those are all the failure events. A software or a hardware failure occurs. Software or a hardware failure occurs. So if we are running any program, so automatically there will be a notification that no signal, right? So there will be hardware failure in the computer. Then an operation is completed. An operation is completed. If we have successfully end with an execution, so that can also be an operation is completed. That statement can also be there. So this is these are an example of this. Events may also occur that are not directly caused by interaction with the user interface. So, events indicating that they are not directly causing a user interface. They are indirectly causing that the programs are terminating anything, or a failure, anything. That can also be an event. But don't consider that as an exception. This is an event once you are in a user interface. Exception is different than the event. Okay, and you can define any number of events for your application. You can define any number of events for your application. So that is, you are free to define events that are appropriate for your application. Next is source. Event is, hope you understood event. Event is something is happening. So what are all those happening events? So I have discussed here: pressing a button or entering a character, or a counter exceeds, timer failure, sorry, timer expires, right? Hardware failures. Those are all the events directly or indirectly affecting the user interface. Next, what is source? Source is an object that generates an event. That generates an event. As I said, if we consider switch is an object. Once you press that, either it is on or off. On or off are the events. Switch is an object. Similarly, on and off are the events, which is a source here. So source is an object that generates an event. Okay, this occurs when the internal state of that object changes in some way. So as I said, switch as an example. Okay, and sources may generate more than one type of event. So as I said, switch can generate, switch will internally change the state on and off, and on and off are the two events that are generated by the same source. So hope you understood this source. Source is an object that generates an event. Sources may generate more than one type of event. So on and off are the two events. So when those on and off events will generate, an internal state of that object will get changed. Okay. So for a switch, external also gets changed. Okay. And then a source must register listeners in order for the listeners to receive notification about the specific type of an event. Specific type of an event. So here, for a switch example, a switch should be connected to a earthing or to a current flowing anything, right? So that should, if it is connected, then on and off the events will carry further, or else it is not. It is just an object, right? Just a switch which is not connecting to anywhere, right? So that is one thing. And each type of event has its own registration method. Has its own registration method. This is one registration method, and it is very important. Write a note on add listener. They may ask. Okay. So public void add type of event which you are carrying further. It may be a mouse event, keyboard event, anything. Okay. So that is here add type listener. So if you are adding a character to the interface, then it should be add key listener. If you are adding a mouse click or something, then add mouse listener. Add mouse listener. Type is a event which you are performing on listener. And type listener. Type listener is whatever the type which you have added here. That should be a class name here, right? So if it is mouse, if it is keyboard, key, and this is a reference variable, el. El is a reference variable. You can use your own reference variable name. So it's a user defined. Okay, type is the el. Okay, here type is the name of the event. So as I said, type is the name of the event. El is a reference to that event listener. So it's just a reference variable. So add type listener is a method. It's a way to register for a listener, and which type listener you are registering. So for example, a method that registers a keyboard event listener is called add key listener. As I said, if you are entering a character from a keyboard to an interface, then it should be a key listener. Add key listener. Only difference is what? Instead of this type, we have key. We have key. Everything else is same. Everything else is same. Inside that you can keep that. So here I have just given an example. And the method that register a mouse motion. So we have more listeners on mouse and key. So we will discuss that. Add mouse motion listeners. So mouse click also we have, right? So mouse motion listener. So that is motion listener is dragging, and so what I am doing here on the screen, so that is all mouse motion. Okay. uh, when an event occurs, all register listeners are notified and receives a copy of the event object. This is known as multicasting the event. Say for example, if you are pressing a button also, and if you are entering a key also, so key listener also registering and mouse listener also registering. So in that case, if any event happens, if even any event happens, say for example, we are entering an email and the password, and once we click on that, so once the event is generated, so that notification will go to both this add key listener also and add motion listener also. So both listeners also will get a notification saying that the event is carried. So that is called multicasting event. That is called multicasting event, right? So if you wanted to send a notification for only mouse listener, then you can just send a notification for mouse listener. So that is called unicasting. That is called unicasting. So here the continuation of sources. Some sources may allow only one listeners to register. So as I said, so if a source is allowing many listeners to register, then it is multicasting. If a source is allowing only one listener to register, then it is unicasting an event. Right. So such type is such registration type is. So this is multicasting registration and this is unicasting registration. So here, in order to register for a source, that is only one listener registration. So this is the general purpose. A public void, everything is same. The difference is throws java dot utility dot too many listeners exception. Too many listeners exception. So here is what, there is no exception here. So here any number of listeners can register. So only change is that type you have to change, either keyboard or a mouse you can replace. But here everything else is same and it has an exception that it is only for one listener to register. If any other listener is registering for the same source, then it will throw an error called java.utility. Too many listeners exception. So if the second listener is registering, then it will throw an error. So this type of registration will we will call it as unicasting an event. Unicasting an event, and this is important. Adding a type listener, or how do you add a listener for a source, that can also be asked. And a source must also provide a method that allows a listener to unregister. To register, we have add type listener. To unregister, we have remove type listener. Instead of add, you just have to put remove. Just have to put remove. So this is the method. Instead of add, we have remove. Remove a key listener or a mouse motion listener. That is your choice for which event listener you have, or for a source which listener is registered. Okay. Say for example, I can give another example that, so you have used for an interface key and the mouse, but later you understood that for our interface only one listener is enough, right? So in that case you can just use this method, remove type listener. Remove type listener. So in order to remove which type listener you wanted to remove from your interface, right? To remove keyboard listener, or else you can just remove a line from that and you can add throws java dot utility dot too many listeners exception. So that is in your hand, because you are a programmer to create your interface. And this is listener. Listener is also an object that is notified when an event occurs. When an event occurs, it has two major requirements. First, it must have been registered with one or more sources to receive a notification about a specific type of an event. Second, it must implement methods to receive and process notification. To receive and process notification. So listener is also an object, but it should have to register. So as I said, it should have to register. So this is the listener which we have discussed here. Yeah, discussed here. It can be a key or mouse or anything. Okay. And once we have registered, that registered methods should be implemented. That registered method should be implemented. So here we have only method registration here. We don't have actual implementation. If we are registering, so that listener for an event, that should have a implementation. I mean, if an event occurs, what should be the further process it should have to carry, right? So that is the listener interface. This is important. Okay. The methods that receive or process events are defined in a set of interfaces found in java.awt.event. So as I said, so for events you just have to import java.awt.event, either for a mouse motion listener or a key listener or any event or any object which you are creating, either a applet or a swing or a button which you are creating or a scroll bar which you are creating, you have to just include java.awt. Okay, awt.event, anything. For example, the mouse motion listener interface defines two methods to receive notification when a mouse is dragged or moved. Dragged indicating that if you are holding something and dragging anywhere. Moving is just moving. Whatever I am doing, that is moving. Dragging is that, so it is like selecting. So it is so from first line to a last line which I am dragging. So that is dragging concept. Okay. Um, Event classes we will discuss in the next class. So if you have any doubt with the event sources and event users, please contact me or text me or you can put in a chat section. Okay. Event classes we will discuss in the next class.